Views expressed by the host on this program make more sense than anything anybody else out there happens to be saying. As the views expressed by the host in this program rooted in a relentless and unstoppable pursuit of the truth, and we find it. And then we proclaim it. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. The email address lrushbo@eibnet.us. Under the category of Mueller has nothing. What? The tariff? Yeah, we're going to get to the tariffs. Just be patient. I'm going to use phone calls to get to the tariffs. Are you burning with passion and obsessed about the? All right. Well, Mueller has nothing, but that doesn't mean anything because Mueller can keep looking till he finds anything. There are no limits on Mueller's investigation. He was not given a crime. What Mueller is doing in the strict sense of things is not even legal. Justice Department regulations require that for a special counsel to be named, there has to be a crime to pursue. Here, there's no crime. When Mueller was impaneled by Rod Rosenstein, he was given no specific crime. It all happened after Trump fired Comey, and there was this general rat-tat-tat about obstruction and the overall claim that Trump and Russia colluded. And, of course, we all know that even as of now, there's no evidence for it. Well, the latest from Mueller is this. George Nader, a Lebanese-American businessman, has hovered on the fringes of international diplomacy for 30 years. He was a back-channel negotiator with Syria during the Clinton administration. He reinvented himself as an advisor to the de facto ruler of the United Arab Emirates, and last year was a frequent visitor to President Trump's White House. Mr. Nader is now a focus of the investigation by Robert S. Mueller III, the special counsel. In recent weeks, Mr. Mueller's left-wing liberal lawyer investigators have questioned George Nader and have pressed witnesses for information about any possible attempts by the Emiratis, people from the United Arab Emirates, think Dubai and Abu Dhabi, to see if there have been attempts by those people to buy political influence by directing money to support Trump during the presidential campaign. This according to, yet again, anonymous people with knowledge of the discussion. Are you kidding me? What in the name of Sam Hill does the United Arab Emirates have to do with Russia? And if Mueller is going to start investigating the possibility of foreign governments trying to buy political influence, then would somebody explain to me how this doesn't start and end with the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation? Because that's what the Clinton Foundation did. The Clinton Foundation was soliciting contributions and donations on the come, on the premise that Mrs. Clinton would someday be president. There's no reason for these people all over the world to be giving Hillary and Bill Clinton $250,000 here, $2 million there, $150,000 here, just because the Clintons are popular and just because the Clintons are liked, because that's not the name of the game. These people were donating money to the Clinton Foundation and, of course, the Clinton Global Initiative under the premise that she was going to be president someday. You could say she was already selling her presidency. And if you want to really influence the foreign investment, if you want to look at the possibility of foreign governments trying to buy political influence, I don't know how that you don't start with the Clinton Foundation, which, by the way, am I correct? Is my memory correct? The Clinton Foundation kind of went kaput after the election. I mean, a shell of it still exists. But the massive fundraising came to a screeching halt, and the Clinton Global Initiative, I think, ditto. There was no reason for any of it. It all existed for years as a prelude to Mrs. Clinton being elected president. And then when she lost in a shockingly embarrassing manner, this stuff all ends up sort of evaporating. So is the Clinton Foundation being probed? I mean, here you have George Nader, United Arab Emirates. It says here that this is, by the way, is a New York Times story, obviously. The investigators have also asked about Mr. Nader's role in White House policymaking, these anonymous people said, suggesting that the special counsel left-wing lawyers' investigation has broadened beyond Russian election meddling to include the influence from the United Arab Emirates on the Trump administration. Now, we can all see what's happening here. Here's what this is. There's nothing. They don't have anything. Mueller still does not have a thing on Trump and Russia collusion. And now, by introducing this guy, George Nader, and United Arab Emirates, you realize the path for all this. So somebody in Mueller's left-wing organization leaks to the New York Times, hey, we're looking at this Nader guy, United Arab Emirates. They've might have something to do with Trump. This guy is in the White House a couple times, and they wanted to buy influence. Yeah. So they publish the story in the New York Times, and it gets amplified and magnified and blown up all over social media, where a bunch of genuine twits read it and end up believing it. So now, not only did Russia collude with Trump, but we find out now that the rich guys in the United Arab Emirates are trying to buy influence with Trump, too. And then the reverberation all throughout social media picks up and kicks up, and a whole lot of uninformed, ill-informed people end up believing that this investigation is really big and really sweeping up a lot of people, when in fact Mueller has nothing. This is pathetic. Now, theoretically, Rosenstein, who is the deputy AG, has to sign off on every new area of investigation Mueller wants to go. Those are the regulations. You see, when the special counsel is behaving according to regulations, there's a crime specified, and the special counsel focuses like a laser on that crime. And if in the pursuit of that crime, the special counsel learns of something unrelated but is also criminal, he needs to go back to the managing partner, in this sense, the deputy AG, for permission to take the investigation off into this ancillary area, wherever it might be, if it doesn't fit within the boundaries of the original crime. Did Mueller go to Rosenstein and say, you know what, we found something over here in the Emirates? This Nader guy, who's been in bed with the Clintons for the longest time, may have been selling influence with Trump. Do I have permission to go look at this? Do we know if this happened? We don't know. We probably will not know. And I doubt that it did, because nobody's conducting this investigation as it should be. It's wide open. It has no boundaries. It has no limits on funding, so it can go as long as it wants. And it can go wherever. This investigation can go wherever it wants. And I think this is why Trey Gowdy was on, I think, was it Meet the Press yesterday? We've got the bite that I'm looking for here quickly as I find it. Trey Gowdy thinks we need a second special counsel investigation is the point. And when I hear that, I just cringe. You talk about another delay. If we start another special counsel, how long is it going to be? Well, I thought I had it, and I can't find it. It's number 11. How did I miss number 11? Oh, the 2 pages stuck here. Let's see if this is what I'm thinking it is. Well, it's about the 5. Let's go ahead and use it. It was this morning on the Fox Business Network, Mornings with Maria Bartiromo. And she's talking to Trey Gowdy. He says, you believe we have another special counsel to investigate these matters?
You need an independent arbiter, and the Department of Justice cannot investigate itself. Horowitz can. Horowitz is a fair guy, but when there are 24 witnesses that have left the department or work for another agency, someone else has to do it. And I am reluctant to call for special counsel, but I think it may be unavoidable in this fact pattern.
So this in this case about FISA, Gowdy is specifically referring to how the hell was a FISA warrant granted on this phony dossier, and that the DOJ cannot investigate it. So Horowitz is the inspector general. As he said, we need a special counsel to investigate what happened here at the FISA court and the FBI and the DOJ and how they sought the warrant, the affidavit. And did the judge know that he was looking at a political opposition document? Did the judge know? Was the judge misled? Well, it's the same thing here with this branching out that Mueller is engaging in here. I mean, there's no stopping this. There's no end to it. And if we have a second special counsel investigation of this investigation, what does that say? You know, it's so easy to do. I'm not being critical of Gowdy here. Don't misunderstand. But these things move at a snail's pace. And the objective of this current investigation is to get Donald Trump. They're not trying to really find Russian collusion. They're not really trying to find. They're not even worried about that. All of that is a bunch of made-up, make-believe outrage and anger. These people don't even really have a problem with the Russians. They traditionally have loved the Soviets, Soviet communism, the Russians. This is all about getting Trump. It's all it is. So a second investigation, which, if Gowdy got what he wanted, would be a legitimate investigation. It would be pursuing a specific event, and that would be the application for warrants at the FISA court. It would still take eons to get going. Meanwhile, Mueller could be out there churning away on the mission to get Trump. And all of this is about the Democrats winning the midterm elections, the House of Representatives in 2018. That's what all of this is. All of this, all these leaks, all these new developments in the investigation, all designed to be blown up and amplified on social media so that people, by osmosis, by inference, just end up thinking that Trump is dirty, sullied, guilty, under the premise they wouldn't be looking into it, Hazel, if there weren't something there. And by the way, this United Arab Emirates thing, this guy, George Nader, I mentioned this about a half hour ago. This is the latest guy that Mueller is looking into for maybe selling influence into Trump. It worked closely with the Clintons for 30 years. And he's an envoy, has relationships with the leaders of the United Arab Emirates, George Nader. Well, it turns out that whatever Mueller's looking at is stuff that happened after the election. It had nothing to do with collusion, Russia, tampering with the election, stealing this or that. Nothing to do with the original charge. And then, I don't know if you've heard the latest, but this is how deeply at the bottom of the barrel they're scraping. This story out of Bangkok. It's in the New York Times. Escort says audio recordings prove Russian meddling in U.S. election. They have a hooker from Belarus. The New York Times is calling her an escort. So, a Belarusian escort with close ties to a powerful Russian oligarch said from behind bars in Bangkok today that she had more than 16 hours of audio recordings that could help shed light on Russia meddling in the U.S. elections. Her name, Anastasia Vashukovich, said she would hand over the recordings if the U.S. granted her asylum. The oligarch is Oleg Deripaska. You talk about, now they've got a hooker with 16 hours of audio tapes that prove this. After all this time, that's where they're going to end up. Okay, here we are. Great to have you back here, folks. It's Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. and the distinguished, highly reputable, everybody wants to be in it, Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies and Advanced Anti-Media, Anti-Leftist Studies. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. Escort says audio recordings prove Russian meddling in U.S. election. New York Times. Hang on just a second, folks. I may as well not have this TV on. Screensaver's going to come on every 30 seconds. Anyway, you talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. A hooker from Belarus who is in jail with close ties to a powerful Russian oligarch. And by the way, this oligarch has been mentioned in connection with, I can't remember, Deripaska is his name, Deripaska. He's a billionaire, close ties to Putin. Oh, that's right, Manafort. He has business ties with Paul Manafort, who has been charged by Mueller. 16 hours of audio recordings that could help shed light on Russia. Do these people have any idea? I mean, the reporters at the New York Times, and I know what they're doing. I mean, they're doing everything they can to convince as many people that Trump is guilty. They're doing everything they can to get their stories amplified, that there's evidence everywhere, Russian meddling. We just can't find it yet, but he did it. And Hillary should have won, and Trump didn't. It shouldn't have. And so I know what they're trying to do. But now a hooker with 16 hours of audio recordings that could help shed light on Russian meddling in the election? To put this in perspective, let's go back just 1 year. 1 year ago, the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN were running stories endlessly. There were more than one a day on many days. And the sources were deep inside the intelligence community. They were credible sources. These were sources that knew. Intelligence committee, intelligence community. These were people that worked CIA, the NSA. They were anonymous, and there wasn't any evidence yet, every story said. But these people knew that it had happened, and we were on the verge of uncovering it. The point is, a year ago, the anonymous sources at least had the specter of august credibility. And yet, not a one of these nameless anonymous sources in any of the past 18 months has had anything that has come anywhere close to being true. Because there is no evidence that Trump colluded with Russia. The maddening thing about this is that the evidence is that Hillary did. There's all kinds of evidence that Hillary colluded with the Russians. You know the drill on this. The dossier, Hillary essentially had it written and paid to have it written, and it's a political opposition research document. Probably was used to secure a warrant to spy on the Trump administration and the Trump campaign. All of that's being ignored, and now we're down to a hooker. This is going to give hookers a bad name. We're down to 16 hours of audio recordings made by a hooker. What, 8 hours of them going to be? Something like that? What, 16 hours? The escort, Anastasia Vashukovich, said that she would hand over the recordings if America granted her asylum. She faces criminal charges and deportation to Belarus after coming under suspicion of working in Thailand without a visa at a sex training seminar in the city of Pattaya. A sex training seminar. Ms. Vashukovich, who described herself as close to the Russian aluminum tycoon Oleg V. Deripaska, said that audio recordings she made in August of 2016 included discussions that he had about the U.S. presidential election with people she is declining to identify. Ms. Vasukovich said today, if America gives me protection, I'll tell everything I know. I'm afraid to go back to Russia. Some strange things can happen. Her assertion could be easy to disregard were it not for a 25-minute video investigation posted last month on YouTube by the Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny, which relies heavily on videos and photographs from Ms. Vasukovich. She and 9 people from Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus were arrested late last month in Pattaya, a city 70 miles south of Bangkok, known for its adult entertainment scene. I guess they don't have to make Thailand horny again. They don't need to make Thailand horny again tour there, because they've got this babe over there at the sex training seminar. This is the woman that's going to bring Trump down? This is the woman, after all of this, a hooker has the goods on Trump, and the New York Times is buying into it. According to her version of events, she was working for a modeling agency when she and several other models were sent to spend time on Oleg Deripaska's yacht. You see, every oligarch has to have a yacht. And every oligarch's yacht has to be parked in either the Greek Isles or the harbor at Monte Carlo or Nice. You don't go to Marseille, but you might go to Saint-Tropez. You couldn't muscle in on the crime lords of Marseille if you wanted to. You stick in Saint-Tropez, you go to Nice, maybe Cannes. You can dock right there at the Hotel du Cap Eden Rock. Anywhere there along the Côte d'Azur. Every Russian oligarch, along with Paul Allen, has a yacht that's over there, and there are models galore, and they're always having parties. You might even find P. Diddy and his manservant carrying the umbrella for him to shield him from the sun. You find all these people. You have Hollywood actresses. You have models. You have now apparently hookers. And these Russian oligarchs are everywhere. And she was working for a modeling agency. She and several other models were sent to spend time on Deripaska's yacht. She later posted pictures and videos on social media showing Mr. Deripaska and Mr. Prigodko together on the yacht. Well, it doesn't prove anything, except that she might know what she's talking about because she was on the oligarch's yacht, and she's got video of the oligarch talking to another Russian guy. And these guys are close to Putin. Financial records show that companies controlled by Mr. Manafort owed millions of dollars to Mr. Deripaska. And during the campaign of 2016, Manafort offered to give Deripaska private briefings on the campaign. It's scraping the bottom of the barrel. It all adds up to they've got nothing